The next one is issues of identity, dignity. Is specifically for black Christians, black believers. You think about history, or look, I think there's been a lot of I wrote that thing. There's a resurgence of people looking back and seeing why we're here and all this in different places. Where people of color are at. Ayo, what's good, people? What is up? I know you guys have missed us. We are back with another one. My name is Marvin Kimani, if you don't know me.
The marvelous mastermind, Marvin Kimani.
Bro, let's go. Hey. He added marvelous
mastermind.
And I'm joined by the one, the only. Captain, my captain. The people's leader. The one, the only. The people's champ, actually.
That's why we're talking about deconstruction today. We're decoding.
If there's ever a president...
We are decoding anything. We are decoding everything.
Oh, man, bro, how are you feeling?
You're busy trying to get me to get into politics. This man...
Guys, if there's somebody I would vote for...
to be a politician.
Over and over again, like the ANC. Okay, maybe not. We're gonna get in trouble.
I thought you voted for the blue party, bro.
Listen, I would vote for.
We know where you stay.
You should go into politics, bro.
We know where you stay.
You should go into politics.
Let's talk about
today's topic.
Decoding.
But wait, bro. Let's get
decoding.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you
Remember when you did coding?
Wait. Oh, bro, I've done a lot. You done coding.
I did. I was just asking you. Remember when you did it? We've been hustling, eh?
That is one thing I know is not for me.
Yeah. It rattled your cage.
It was great.
It rattled your cage, didn't it?
It didn't rattle my cage in terms of I was scared or whatever. It's just I realized look, bro, there's some things that are a certain way with some people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
I love the problem solving of it.
Yes, I loved it.
And I think it's like
if I had the time.
It's an important skill, yeah. But you get better obviously as you do it. It's like with anything. But I love the problem solving aspect of it.
They asked us to because it was online, and they were like, hey, do you guys want to post just how you're feeling about this course online, get a picture and post on there. And I went and found a picture that I think was super on the dot. Those Mars rovers.
Yes,
I can send the thing to Mars and go find the vibes.
Wow.
That's the one I said. That's how I felt, bro. I'm in space.
Whoa, bro.
I don't know what's going on.
I can imagine, yeah.
But I loved it. It's
it is, yeah, it is. It was. I haven't done it in a minute, and I think I need to find things that challenge my problem solving, spending time, getting into the... I run away from hard things.
Do you do?
I do, yeah.
The people's champ?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, I thought you go towards it. Anyway.
I do. To
a certain degree you do.
To a certain degree you do. Conversations of people.
Yeah.
Because I value people.
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah. Which is important.
An app or a website is
Yeah.
but anyway, I'm good, bro. Yeah. Good start to the year. It's good to be in Cape Town with you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sia, who's behind all of this, makes us sound good.
The man.
So I just feel like Cape Town is my third home. Hey.
Let's go, bro. Let's go. It's your first home, but okay.
I just
we'll take it.
We'll
take it.
I landed in Cape Town.
We're number 3. Who's number 2?
I landed in Cape Town and I felt like you feel like a millionaire when you're in Cape Town. But you know that you will never be. I don't know if you know that vibe.
I know it.
You just feel like...
No, but here's the thing.
Like you're cruising,
okay,
bro. Because you're in Cape... But you just know that you'll never be.
But if I go to Joburg, I just feel like I am not a millionaire.
You feel like
you know you're not a millionaire.
But you will hustle to be one.
There's a possibility.
Yes, there's I will hustle. In Joburg, in Cape Town, you feel like what? The beach is there, the mountain is there, the sand is white.
Yeah.
Like, you just feel like you in a
you can
movie.
relax. Like you can relax.
But you just know, like that house that you see, like even just getting an Airbnb there is gonna be too much for you, bro. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Sure, let's get into it. We're gonna get in trouble. It's so early, bro. Already we're in politics now.
Oh, bro.
Okay, guys, we're speaking about deconstruction today, I use that word loosely, but I want to give you the classic definition because I think it's important we start from the root. So
it's not a new concept.
Definitely not a new concept, but I do feel like there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of people that think it means different things.
Yeah.
And so when we're speaking, we could mean totally different things, but we speak about the same anyway. So this is the classic definition. Deconstruction is an academic concept that originates from literary theory, a stem of academia, which is all about locating meaning in a piece of text.
Sure.
In this context, deconstruction is a concept that is mainly interested in the idea that meaning breaks down and falls apart. So for example, if I say dog, you have an idea of dog. But we mean totally different things. And so deconstruction is about showing that even if I said yellow dog, you still have an idea that I am talking something else and you're talking something else. Even if I go down and say yellow dog with a brown nose. You know what I'm saying? So deconstruction in that context, it's all about like in this text, like breaking it down like that, right?
Wow.
But for our purposes and for the purposes of this discussion and what most people agree on,
and associated.
I found one from one of our favorite, preachers and teachers. He simply says it this way.
The big dog.
It is the process of evaluating and reevaluating your core beliefs.
Yeah.
So obviously speaking in the faith space, where like we coming from, sermon, where we speak from, so looking at the faith you inherited by virtue of being in a specific household or church movement, what you heard, and then assessing if you really believe it.
Yeah.
Or which parts of the faith are biblical and which parts are Christian culture.
Yes. Or what I want to believe.
That too. I agree. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, do I really want to believe this?
Yeah.
Can't I believe aspects of this and aspects of that? So I think it's not a new thing, you know, and I think people...
We've given it a term.
So here's my thing. I think people are leaving the faith because people are speaking about leaving the faith. Yet before, people would leave the faith without saying, I'm leaving the faith. And so I think that's where the wave of deconstruction is happening.
Yeah.
And remember, this wave is very similar to how everything has, how even the view of sexuality, right? How people speak about even issues of race. Like people weren't speaking about them as bluntly and as openly as they were maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Publicly, even in church, and the many things. And I think that's why now everyone is speaking about them. Like you are irrelevant if you don't have thoughts around some of these the three things I've just mentioned now.
I like what you just did there. You went historically, this is what it's been, right? What I find interesting is that's why I start with the definition. Is because deconstruction is not necessarily leaving the faith. And that's almost like a common misconception I've come across, like when faith speakers, a lot of them, with genuine intentions, the Bible does speak about people who leave, and we see it in the scriptures. But sometimes somebody is not leaving the faith; he's questioning. And I don't know what your experience has been, but I know there's this spaces where people are not in a place where they can question.
Yes.
Or even like the thing about having doubt. Like you can't have doubt.
That's a big one.
And so that what I want to just kind of
faith and doubt are not in polar opposites.
They're not, but it's treated that way. And people think that
doubt actually helps your faith.
Talk about it, bro. Yeah.
It does. Like if you don't doubt, now I think there's a unhealthy doubt and there's healthy doubt.
You can get into that,
I think if you don't doubt, you always take things at face value. You'll never be able to really question. And so inherently, I don't think questions are bad. Yes, they could be aspects of us that are bad in the sense of we're questioning because of ulterior motives. or we're questioning, or we have doubts
Yes.
because I'm trying to prove and show something, and that it's negative and wrong. But inherently, it's not a bad thing, and I think it could and should actually definitely work, hand in hand, in the sense of we worship a God we've never seen, a God that we've never touched, but a God that we've heard of and who we've experienced internally and personally in such a deep and a fundamental way.
We hope so.
We hope so. But we go through life and life happens.
Yeah.
One of the prayers that you can pray is, Lord, I don't know, but you do.
Or I believe, help my...
Or be like Peter, Lord, I believe,
But help my unbelief.
but help my
I
unbelief.
think was that Peter? I don't know if it
think
was
it
Peter. Okay, but whoever it was, that person was
I don't
saying,
know.
hey, bro.
I was trying to flex my theology on.
Sorry. the thing is, though, that's the key. And so, bro, I want to just touch on...
It's like knowing everything. Like the Christian that knows answers for everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, if you know everything...
No. But that's the problem. We can't, bro.
I don't want to be... I mean, I can be a friend, but...
I think there's some circles where that's been the kind of what somebody has come into. Like, bro, we have answers for everything.
Yeah.
And so when this person does come to a place where there's no answer for that, they wobble.
Yeah.
Right? Because they came into this place where everything's up here.
Yeah.
And I was telling a friend of mine, and it's like, I believe here, like African believers have such a role to play because we are experiential people.
Bro,
a lot of us.
You should write a thesis on this. I remember...
I probably will go there.
I probably was arguing with you. I remember when I was away and I was arguing with you around some of this... you have issues... Well, not issues, but you had some really good thoughts.
I have some reservations on like Western intellectual...
Western intellectual Christian thought at times. And I think it's very good.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that part of the reasons I put down here, like in terms of like where people wobble and becomes deconstruction, because I feel like even if you're just doubting, you put that label because that's the label that's out, right? So what is this man? And no, he's deconstructing, or maybe he has questions like no. And maybe sometimes somebody is walking away, and also that's deconstruction. Now we blanket it, and so it becomes. So I have a couple things that I feel like.
Can I just say something before you mention those?
Yeah.
are you going to mention the things that make people
that I feel
question?
like that are part of this discussion?
Sometimes people are not leaving the faith. People are leaving the church. Your church.
Yes.
Sometimes people are leaving the
expression.
faith. Sometimes people are leaving your church. Now there are people who leave the faith or denounce the faith, rightfully so. But there's some people who are just moving churches.
Yeah.
And in some churches, if you leave those churches, you've left God. You know, it's like God is only in that church.
Yeah.
And I think for people in those spaces, we need to be very careful. Some people have so much trauma from leaving a church because of the backlash that they get. And I think that's just one thing I wanted to say. Like sometimes people are just leaving and they're leaving for
good reasons.
For good reasons. Like their theology has changed. Yeah. Like God has the ability to allow us to change. He has a way to still allow us to change our minds on some things that we were so certain about, and He's still so gracious with us. I mean, how? But we're not.
Bro, I feel like you can't be in the same... Let's say you came in because you got saved like at a young age. Bro, that level of faith that you had there is good, right? But in terms of what you know, you can't be in the same place for the next 15 years thinking the same stuff, right? So the scriptures some of the scriptures that I had, it talks about like examining whether you're in the faith. To do that, you actually have to question some of the things, right?
You do.
And so maybe you can pick up from here, bro.
Yeah, let's pick up
so
some
we
of the points.
got some of the reasons people deconstruct, right? So you got church hurt and trauma.
Yeah,
you go to a really bad church, leadership is messed up somehow, and they hurt you, right?
Yeah. Or sometimes you were part of the hurting.
Yes.
And the backlash is making you now question.
Oof.
Hey.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, bro, I like that.
I feel like church hurt is a very big thing, but how we also played and play a part in hurting other people in the church.
Yeah.
And then when it comes out, you're so hurt.
Then you are hurt.
And then that makes some people leave like
Dope.
leave the faith, or you make some bad decisions,
And you have to.
and the church says something to you, and then you're like,
no, you
so
can't.
judgmental.
No, I'm
like,
out. I'm out.
But
I don't believe this.
But church trauma and hurt is a very big thing because of spiritual leadership, and you know that American podcast that everyone's listening to about the up and down of that church.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And, and
some of those people
that
are still
is
struggling.
speaking about that, and that's a real big thing, and it just doesn't leave, and that's unfortunate.
And I think it's because it's supposed to be a safe space.
So God is down.
You know, exactly. So the hurt goes deeper, I guess, right? I just want to mention all of them.
Yeah, sorry.
No, because then I want us to speak about all of them. Let's go.
Can we like?
I don't know. Okay, sure.
Even if it's
inherited
just a little.
faith. No, it's good. Inherited faith. That's speaking about you grew up in a specific space. You went to church, and because you went to church and you listened and you were there and you grew up 16, 17, 18, you go to varsity, and it's like you're getting questions.
Do I believe this thing? Is it actually really true? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now that is a form of deconstruction, because now you're like, actually, I don't believe this stuff. And so there's that.
And sometimes I think the shame and the guilt of it, because people are like, hey, like you grew
were
up
here
in
the
this
whole time,
thing?
as if
like, you know this thing?
as
Like
if
you were born into this thing. And sometimes that shame and guilt where some people have these amazing encounters with God, or something that something happens. And sometimes there is especially with us, because it's like here in South Africa, it's like it's because we don't have family structures.
Yeah.
So, or should I say, we have a family structure, but a disjointed family structure in the sense where both your parents really love the Lord, and you really saw faithfulness in their lives, and they really were teaching you in the ways of the Lord in the home.
Yes.
Some of us, and the reason I'm putting in family structure in church is because how faith is mostly passed down is through families. Not all the time.
A lot of times.
Mostly. Yeah. And sometimes both parents. Because if it's just my mom at times, I'm just like...
I can choose.
Mama is like loving Jesus and treating her as a man because she's single. I get you. Like because she's been through so much hurt and trauma because of my dad, right? But it's something about seeing a family structure that works in a cohesive manner, even if it's not perfect. That makes this faith be realistic. You see your parents praying and loving God. You see them teaching you the word, and it gets passed down. But because we don't have that as much as black people, there is a huge reliance on the church. So your mom will send you, because you were a naughty boy, to the church to fix you, right? And now there's an obligation. Mom, this is mom's church and this is mom's faith, so I need to follow that and do it.
Until I don't need to anymore.
Until I don't need to anymore. And so then it becomes mom's faith, or mom is sending me here because I'm so naughty. And I'm so I mean, I think
that's real.
You know, I don't know how many like people in my people like sometimes get boys, mostly men, get sent to me by their parents because they like, I need to fix them. Like, well,
I get that
myself.
too. But we still have our own. And I think that inherited faith thing touches it. Connects.
Is my touching it
totally,
on that?
Totally. Okay. It connects with like doubt and unanswered questions. So this guy matriculates, he goes to varsity, and he sort of kind of remembers all this stuff that he's been taught and but then there somebody asks him a question, or he himself starts asking himself question. Maybe he has doubt, right? And I think that was kind of number 3. Another big one, and I think this one is on LGBT issues.
LGBTQA plus.
Okay, yes.
Otherwise,
thank you, bro. I appreciate. I think that's a big one. And I had a
tell me about. You tell me.
No. I have. My thing is this. I had a big chat with my mother, and just saying how the church has failed to show this community of people Jesus. She heard something else.
Yes, of course.
She's from a different era.
Yes, why am I saying of course? Yes.
You get it.
Yeah,
you understand. Right? She heard I was saying something else.
Yes,
and I was like, we have definitely failed. And I quoted Jackie Hill Perry, where she talks about how God has called us.
Even that name nowadays, I mean,
It's getting shade even.
No, I mean there's nothing wrong with her. I'm just saying
no.
people,
Some people are,
in the community, in
Yes,
the LGBTQA
yes.
plus community, sometimes feel some type of way.
Why?
For various reasons.
Okay.
I think part of it is don't want to focus on this on Jackie.
Yes.
I really like Jackie.
Yeah.
And I like you if you don't like me because I like Jackie.
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah.
It's a thing. I think part of it is the American nature of it.
Okay.
Is where I think Jackie's resources and books and stuff has been used to convert people. Has been used to weaponize, and I think so. We use people's testimonies to weaponize.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
just in case people don't know Jackie Hill.
Jackie Hill was same-sex attracted. She was molested as a child. She wrote a phenomenal book. In terms of how she writes, she's actually a brilliant writer. Hey?
Great poet.
I mean, even her music is good. What
she's
oh,
bro, she's brilliant. The quote I gave was, right, just to round back, was she said, God has not called us to heterosexuality.
Yeah.
He's called us to holiness.
Yeah.
And I think this pin dropped on my mother because like she was like, oh yeah, no, that one, right? Because I was like, everybody, me and you and same-sex attracted people, right? Yeah. We were all called to holiness.
To holiness.
Right? And
Being
so
friends,
that is the main thing, not because what I was saying to my mother was like, we've othered them. Like, we got these sins, but these ones, right? And so I think that's one of the issues that kind of people struggle with that. Like, you guys are all about love until somebody who's
same sex,
right? Who's from their community
or from the LGBTQA community,
whatever that looks like, comes in, then love is out the window.
And I think part of the whole thing is, especially even on like testimonies and all of that, is like we shouldn't weaponize people using other people's testimonies. And I think we need to be, and that's one lesson I think I've seen around it is we need to hear people's stories. We need to try love and understand them, and then just because you've overcome, I mustn't shove that down everyone's throat who's overcome what you've overcome, because your story, it's never going to be the same, right? Like our struggles are not the same, even if they are, in the sense of, and the root of it,
at the bottom,
the root of it stay the same, but we're very different people, and I think sometimes the messaging is that, you know, her life specifically has turned out in a completely different way. So I know even in that community, because now she's married and all of that, you know, they could consider her not whatever, because she hasn't stayed that way when some of them maybe want to change. You know, so there's so much complexity to it.
It's complex.
I think this and the deconstruction thing, or people in the deconstruction journey, or people that have deconstructed, whether they have faith or don't have faith anymore, I think this has been one of the biggest things, and which is sad to see, but I think it shouldn't be. Follow-up
question on that, bro. How do you think, because with Jackie being her resources, she's not the only one that has these, right?
Exactly,
But I guess she's one of the famous ones, one of the front runners of just people who God has changed and all that, and so people might not be intentionally weaponizing. It's like, hey, here's the resource, or here's this lady who comes from the same community, and this is her thoughts, right? But somehow it comes off that way, right? How do you think we can do that better? Not to put you on the spot, but also
create spaces, especially around sexuality.
Okay.
Sexuality is can be very confusing. And on a deeper level, because it's very complex.
Yes.
And I think we need to be very careful in terms of how we speak about it, but we need to speak about it.
Yeah.
My issue with let me say this. Bring in testimonies and share, but I think also bring other sides to the story.
Yeah.
Because you're painting it. That's the only way that this thing can be done. Look at how this has happened. But what happens to other people who've gone and done and different things? Like there's some, you know. So I was chatting to this Catholic priest, and we're speaking around some of the stuff around sexuality, right?
Sure.
So he's a celibate Catholic priest, and I was like, what do you think? I was like, I was like, I think actually, not do you, I think the Catholic Church has so much to teach, not just the church, but the world around this. Like, around consecration. Yes. Ish, my man.
Don't worry, bro. You endorsed the door.
And there's something about laying down your life and laying down your urges for something greater and for God, and picking up your cross. And I was like, and we were just kind of chatting and having just a real good conversation around it because of my own kind of thoughts or misjudgments. And I'm not suggesting that for anyone. For me, bro. But I'm just saying, when it comes to these stories, I think we need to look at both sides. We need to look at both arguments, right? And allow the Spirit of God to lead people in the best way that you can. If you're, and sometimes a lot of the stuff, Marv, is a pushback. Our African thinking in ways.
Right?
So
we've grown up a certain way.
We've grown up a specific way, and the teachings and the things that we've received. Some people rebel on that, but some people lean very strongly and heavily on it. Like a man is this and a man must do this. A woman is this and a woman must do that. All those type of things are like, I think we need to be able to investigate. The solution to this, which won't fix it, but part of the solution, I should say, is having conversations on both sides. In the academic space, they call it side B and side A. They say like, so there's a side B and there's a side A. And they look at it theologically, they look at it experientially, and they put both sides and say, actually, on the sexuality scale, on the LGBTQA as a church and theology, there are these sides, and these are the people that you could potentially read and you should potentially look into for you to make up your mind. But because we've only spoken about one side and people's experience is the other side, I think, because it's not my story, I think it leads to this. Or because you fight for justice and you fight for equality, and you're an activist, or whether you're social media activist or not, you feel like you see the discrimination and the hurt that people in the LGBTQA community have faced, that you want to fight, and you want to fight, and then that gets you to actually, what do I really think? And you read some of the scriptures, and you hear some of the cliches. God didn't make Adam and Eve, Adam and I don't want to say all those things because they triggers.
Unloving things.
You say unloving things because you're trying to protect the truth, and then I think things like that.
That's good.
Then make you then to question, and then you're like, well, if God doesn't like unrighteousness and God is for righteousness, then this isn't right. And so, his people are being killed. His people are being molested. Literally, people are being killed for identifying in the LGBTQA community. And then so that's some of the stuff I've seen. I've seen a lot of that in the youth culture space. I mean, lots, like people who are on fire for Jesus, like fire, and I still love them, and we're still very good friends who are growing in their convictions, whatever they are. But it's because of that. It's the tension of it. How can we hate people that God? And then what does it look like if it's a loving God to people who've got a different desires? And
that's helpful, bro. That's very helpful. I think something I would throw in there, and something that the Lord has kind of helped me see and understand, is that these are individuals. These are people who are, so you can't, just like me and you are different. Just because we belong to the hip hop rap community. You like some whack stuff, I like some really good stuff. No, I'm joking.
You definitely like you like all the good stuff.
But like that, like these are people, and you have to deal with them as a person.
Come on, bro.
Right? And I think maybe even the language of like this community, it's still othering, right? These people are coming from right? It's still somehow othering. Definitely. And I think that kind of...
And that's just a lot of my own mistakes as I learn. And it's hard. I think we're meant to be uncomfortable because you want to acknowledge everyone in the LGBTQA plus family community. I don't know. Yeah, so I mean,
I think that's helpful, bro. I think with many things we've missed it because of fear. And we could always talk about that because I think we move from a place of fear. Once you're othering and there's fear, and then now how you deal with people.
Yeah. And even how you look at it theologically, there's a lot of thoughts there. But we are, and me and Marvin, well, I'm not the expert.
Yeah, not. We're just opening the conversation.
We're just opening the conversation. We're opening the can of worms.
Yes, the can of worms. The next one is issues of identity, dignity. Is specifically for Black Christians, Black believers. You think about history, or look, I think there's been a lot of I wrote that thing. There's a resurgence of people looking back and seeing why we're here and all this in different places. Where people of color are at. So there's that, and you look and you're like, oh no, there was this pain here, this slavery is here, and you see things like apartheid, and you see these things and all this, right? And then, I guess, miscommunication, misinformation, or just kind of what you're getting into is oh no, this Christian thing is actually part of this, right? So you start having questions of okay, but if God loves us, and then this, and then there's also somebody highlighted this. There's still some of that still now.
Of course.
Apart from the historical injustices and hate and evil that's been there towards people of color and things that have happened, they still today, and so that even exacerbates even more, right? So I think that's a big one for people of color, and I think
Black people of color. I don't know about calling people of color. It's good.
No, because
in my head, I'm trying to think about it. But obviously, when you say Black people, sometimes it might mean you're not including coloreds or Indian people.
And people, I don't know, there's people of color all over the world.
All over the world,
and I think it's the same discussion.
No, that was a side point. Bro, yes. I think that is, you knocked it out the park.
You feel like I felt this. I'm and maybe sidebar, I'll tell you about this, but it's something I want to write about. Okay, we even you think about who we celebrate in the faith.
Yeah.
We don't celebrate a lot of guys from the continent.
Yeah. Who are they?
We don't know them.
People can't even name 10.
Bro, who's your faith hero? What do they call them? Heroes of the faith. That's from Africa. Blank. I had to go dig, right? And I feel it's those kind of things, right?
John Calvin, my brother.
You know what I'm saying?
And
so I think that's part of it. I've come across guys who are that, and and also you what you getting in.
But that's the most hurtful. I mean, not the most hurtful. I don't want to grade a lot of this, but I think that is. Now, I think part of that, Marv, the thing I have is how people have migrated and left Black churches for reasons that only they would know. Mm-hmm. Myself included, and go to white churches and then be disappointed. And it's not just millennials or Gen Zs, it's even...
That's how they make it as if it's us, just only us.
It's even the generation above us.
Yeah.
So they go and then they get hurt.
Yeah.
They get broken.
Yeah.
Now, what it does is for those white churches, they continue being the same, and then they brag out to the world that we are diverse. We are multitudes of people.
Yeah.
But those people in those white people in those churches will never attend. They will never be members in Black local congregations where they are, suburban or even in the hood.
Sure.
Or in rural spaces. But obviously we've been socialized too because of the schools and the universities, the medias and everything that we watch, to find solace and even spiritual direction in some of these white churches. Hence now the resurgence. And the overemphasis on some of this stuff.
You swing the other way.
It's kind of just a pendulum swing. I am very much interested in that. So we can get a model, a church model, from top to bottom that comes outside of South Africa and will thrive. Take a South African model and take it into into Europe.
Yeah.
And see if it'll work.
It won't.
I mean, just a thought.
Yeah. Good thought.
Just a thought. And for them, they're changing the world, right?
Yeah.
and I'm not saying they're not
Yeah.
as well, but I'm just saying like it just gets us to think.
Yes.
It just gets us to think. Like we actually should be evangelizing the West.
Bro, especially now. I think the West needs us.
The West needs us.
Needs us.
I think a lot more.
Which plays into my next one before you go.
But yeah, next one.
Next one is part of the thing is like some people have just an intellectual assent to Christianity or to Jesus.
Yes.
It's like I know all these facts. I know all this the doctrines and the whatever things, you know. You study, you must tell me what these things are. But like you know all this, and because of that, it's up here, and it's only up here. I'm not saying again. I know you think I'm pro-intellectual. You love the Lord your God with your mind too, right?
Yeah,
but
you are pro with the handbrake.
Yes, exactly. I am pro with a bit of a clutch.
Yeah, with a very good handbrake, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that about you.
Praise God, bro. I think it's something I came into, but so intellectual only. And so if it's only up here, and then something that's real, grief, pain, something that's experiential hits you upside your head, and you don't have that up here, because again, here's the thing, and I think I was going to bring this later, but like part of this, we are still people of faith. Like we're still not going to have all the answers to every little thing, because some of and this I got somewhere else, I can't remember where I was listening to this, but like some of the things that we actually believe, like the core stuff, right? There's a level of faith that needs to be employed.
Big time.
Somebody was saying Trinity, right? The doctrine of Trinity, right? Or that Jesus resurrected.
Yeah. From the
like there's a level, there's a like, right?
Yeah.
There is still that, but it feels like a lot of there is a specific space where somebody has just had a lot of like heady stuff, and that's all they had. That's all they have. Not that that's bad, but when you only have that, and then something happens, it's like now you're trying to connect these dots that have broken, right, and these lines, and then you know, and I think that's where I was saying about like African Christians being able also to help in that sense. What do you think about that? Because you also come from an academic space to some degree, like to
to some degree, and I think I appreciate it, and it's got its downfalls, and I appreciate the faith space because that's where I come from when I grew up. I think to a certain degree, where I saw high.
Almost the opposite.
A high reliance on faith without sometimes
there's the opposite.
Yes, without sometimes the holding.
Yes.
And that definitely happens. And so I think for me, part of the thing is if we need to find a way to juggle the both. Some of it is cultural.
Explain.
Culture. Well, you know, if you are influenced by the West or you've got ties to that, it is going to be highly intellectual and I'm not saying that Africans or people that are from here are not, but they are. But
differences.
A lot of it is cultural. We inherit some of the stuff. And so I think part of it is that. But I think you need to juggle. You know,
it has to be both.
You need to juggle it, and we need to be growing in both. You know, and so I think maybe the challenge is to appreciate academia, to appreciate it to its level. Appreciate it to its level. It's not everything.
Yeah. Because God gave us a book, right?
That we must understand.
Yeah.
That is very. I said the Bible is. The Bible is very easy, but the Bible is very hard. Easy to understand, but it's also very hard to understand.
There's definitely, I think we need to make that complex, clear. Because we are pro loving the Lord with your mind, definitely. But it cannot only be that. Because
and thinking rationally about things and intellectually and being able to actually go down the rabbit hole to find it.
Yes.
But that's not all.
It cannot end there.
That also needs faith.
Yeah. It cannot end there. Because you can have like all that, but still there's still levels of faith that needs to be employed there. Something I've realized I think that was my last one, but something I've realized about this whole deconstruction thing is like have you seen reconstruction? Who's reconstructing? If we were all like, because I think that's when we talk about negative and positive deconstruction. I think the end goal for anyone who's deconstructing, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, if you're questioning, you have doubts, it's ultimately to come, or well, the hope is that you come back to Jesus.
Yes.
You come back to the faith, come back to health.
Reconstruct,
right?
yeah.
So I think the one thing is to have that motive to reconstruct. What do you think is another thing to have?
I mean, I've had crises
do.
of faith or crisis of faith.
Yes.
And where I've questioned quite a lot. I'm sure you've questioned quite a lot because you're quite a questioner yourself.
Yeah. I just keep them to myself.
At times, at times you keep them to yourself. But I think for me, it's keep questioning, keep deconstructing.
Yeah.
And I say that being aware of the season that we are in.
Yeah.
And I say keep doing it because God is a God who welcomes our questions and our doubts. But my query is keep deconstructing, but run to Jesus. And I think the whole thing around reconstruction is you don't want to build it in your own way. That's how I'm saying, like, run to Jesus. That's how I think. That's for me. And maybe that's not the best kind of advice or wisdom, but for me, it's keep questioning. One of the ways, the best Bible study tools that I got from somewhere was ask questions of the text. But now why can't I ask questions of God?
Or the church tradition that you come in.
Or the church tradition. Like this is, and I found that's the best way for me to understand the text. Why is this writer saying this? From what point of view?
Yes.
What was happening at that very time and moment? Why is he using the language that he is using? And now it's like, okay, now the more as you get into that, you also, you can, do I really believe this? Is this very true? Is this verifiable? There's so many aspects to all these things. But I think for me, it's like, you got to do it from a place of possibly really just wanting Jesus. You could have all the intellectual answers and miss Jesus. And you can still have all the faith in the world and miss Jesus.
Yes.
And so I think the one
faith
thing
in
is,
your faith.
Like you just really want to rely on Jesus and fall deeper in love with him. You're asking the questions with your intentions of falling in love with the Messiah of the world, the King of the universe. And it's not because I want to get it right, but because I want to fall in love with the King. And I think if that's not your even if it's hard for you to verbalize, if that's not your heart's posture, it's going to be negative. It's going to be, it might be negative. And I think, and that's okay if it does get there. There's grace to that. We're welcome to even just journey with people who are.
So that's where I'm getting at, bro.
Who are there,
I feel like when somebody's deconstructing, they need a community. I've seen a friend of mine deconstruct. I guess I don't know if she would put this as
call
like
it that way.
I don't know if that's the title, and I'm struggling with that title. But like that's what she would. I would say doubts and questions, and she's come back, right? But what I do feel like she needed was a community to hold space for her to have that, and she didn't.
And she didn't.
Also, I know some people deconstructing, they pull away. They isolate, and so I feel like if you're struggling in that kind of thing or that kind of way, it's call people or have somebody around you, people around you who can walk with you as you're doubting, as you're questioning, as you're going through just things. Because some people say, "Hey, it was not intentional. I got to this point." And so I would say have some community. I think around you and around people you're bouncing off or people you're just around. So I think that's super important.
Don't withdraw. The deconstruction process. This will have to be my last words.
Yes.
The deconstruction process can be hard, it can be lonely, it can be rough because it's hard when you take everything that you've believed in and at times want to throw it away in the bin. And I think people must be careful of their own mental health as they process a lot of that. People must be careful of their own actually health as physical health. But there's nothing better than doing this to not find clarity for clarity's sake, but to fall in love with Jesus. Don't withdraw from community,
bro.
Because that feeds into even you depleting your mental health bucket more and more. And as you question God and where He is, you become a lot more lonely at times because you're even withdrawing from the people that God has actually given you that you don't really see because of the questions that you have for God. And I think like as you do it, and I mean if there's a way, you know, all our social media stuff is here. If we can send you send us stuff, messages, and you know, we'd be willing to just chat with you and just to hear and to possibly help. But the one thing that encourages me, Marv, is the fact that as much as I run away from Jesus every day, I realize that He's still holding my hand and running after me.
That's it.
And,
That's it, bro.
And so there's no question too hard, nothing. Keep running to Jesus.
I want to close with this. C.S. Lewis says, the abuse of a thing never nullifies its original use. So just on the community thing, it's like Jesus meant the church to be what it is. Just because there's hurt or there's pain or there's a way that has gone off doesn't mean the original intent of the church has been nullified, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like to kind of add to what you're saying about like push into that community. There's some, and also end off with the scripture. It says, "Take care, brethren, that there not be any one of you who has an evil heart, unbelieving heart, that falls away from the living God," right? And then another one says,
I think people have issue with that scripture because it says brethren, but yeah, continue.
right? Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I just want to end up with these because I feel like it's
Why
important to bring the scripture because then it's not just me and you. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only as in my presence, but much more in my absence. And then he says this, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And I think that's where I want to end it because I think we could talk about this
for us, the Lord who works and wills in you. So you're working it out because it's God who's giving you the strength and the power. Guys, we are here for you, and we thank you. Thanks for listening. That was a very tough one.
We could definitely have like a part 3, 4, 5, but guys, we just opened the conversation.
We don't want to be those deconstruction people.
No, we're not. We just opened the conversation. Guys,
we're willing to chat. Let's chat.
Let us know
in the comments below.
Let us know what you guys think about some of the things we said. What you agree with, what you disagree with, most importantly, because Lax is gonna come and comment and fight with you guys. Luke Hall is gonna come and fight with you guys. And just anyway, thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one.
Blessings on blessings.